April 14th, the Japanese Red Army bombs a US military recreational club in Naples, killing 5 people. Do you remember that?
Have we started?
Yeah.
Right, I've just got a wee message here for GUFT. I just need to do it.
Okay. I'll read out my headlines. NASA launches space vehicle S-211, famously. Jackson Pollock sells his piece Search for 4.8. He doesn't sell it. It gets sold for $4.8 million. English cricket. Who gives a fuck about English cricket? Mike Tyson crashes his $183,000 Bentley in New York. That's hardly any money by the day's money.
Right, so GUFT have just notified us that the CVXX Séance is a lock for 2025, so we're going to be doing that. It's never been done before, so we're not sure exactly what format that's going to be in. Whether it's going to be part of our normal schedule of episodes or whether it's going to be some kind of special thing. But we'll keep you posted and we'll let you know when that's happening. That's something to look forward to in 2025. It's scheduled. It's in the books. GUFT are currently analysing, because we're not just going to use Ouija boards. We're going to get a real medium involved and stuff, and there's going to be some new technology involved as well. So it's going to be the very, very first seance from GUFT.
Exciting stuff for 2025, sponsored by GUFT Industries.
So
hello.
I'll put my data slate down.
Let's
Welcome
say hello. Hello.
CVXX.
It's a V.
I just want to say Merry Christmas as well. If you're watching this on the week of release, then you're going to be in the middle of the festive season in 2024.
Did you get what you wanted from... Were you a good boy or girl this year? And did you get what you wanted from Santa?
Yes, I did.
You get... Every year you're a good boy.
They say, what do you get the man who has everything? And the truth is, there's new things come out every year. So
it's hard to keep up.
There's just plenty of stuff. So welcome. It's second part of 1988. We're back. We're still in 1988.
In one of the major 1988 events, the USSR begins withdrawing its 115,000 troops from Afghanistan more than 8 years after Soviet forces began entering the country.
I was right into that when I was 11. I was right into that, man.
Largely thanks to Rambo getting rid of the Soviets for Afghanistan.
On August 11th, your boys came together on August 11th.
Sorry.
No, Al Qaeda is formed on August the 11th, 1988. Al Qaeda, obviously, from small beginnings, but they had a hellier impact later in the
played a blinder, didn't
later
they?
in the century. Later in the century.
June
Al Qaeda
2nd.
still kicking a ball, no? Or are they in the ground?
And they were always in caves and stuff, I think.
That's so, apparently.
June 2nd, Ronnie Reagan comes to the UK.
Right, I'm going to do a Ronald Reagan impersonation. I've never done one before, but I know you like my impersonations. GUFT have been receiving a lot of communications about my different impersonations, so here's my Ronald Reagan. It's pretty good. I can't do the...
You can get on Spitting Image with just that.
I wonder what year was Spitting Image, by the way.
Oh, we've passed it. It started already. It's on telly. It's hot property into right now. Spitting Image.
It's back. Listen, it's back. You know, there was something, if you watched the last episode, you'll remember we had a look at Hitman and Her. But there was something I never mentioned about Hitman and Her. It's that Jason Orange of Take That fame was initially discovered as a dancer on the Hitman and Her. I just thought that was in it. And Jason Orange actually got in touch with us here at CVXX to say, fuck's sake, you missed that fact out, boys. He's a big fan of the show.
Sorry, Jason.
He's not the only Orangeman who watches this show, Jason Orange.
When you said Jason Orange,
man,
my mind went to this strange place where I was trying to imagine the Jason Bourne films, but it was an Orangeman that was in the Jason Bourne films. I was confusing.
Anyway, an Orangeman's able to run about as fast as that guy runs about in.
I know, that's true.
Big bellies.
Big fat bastards.
So, in 1988 is an incredible year, as I said. We like to start with a computer game. It's nice to go straight in with a computer game, isn't it, Ryan? So do you want to go first, or do you?
Okay, I'll go first.
All right, you go first this time.
I am going to go and have a look at Icke, and then the largest selling game of the year 1988, Robocop.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Fake static. I'm calling fake static on that one. That one looked stylised. They've got their address on there. 6 Central Street, Manchester. Maybe send them a wee postcard.
Serve the public trust.
Sorry, spoke earlier.
Protect the innocent.
Spoke earlier there.
Uphold the law.
Sorry, Robocop. I was speaking earlier there, Robocop. Says 1987 there, but largest selling game of the year 1980 also says 1989. That's confusing. Largest selling game of the year 1988, and probably by a distance, I would imagine, because I definitely played it loads. I think everybody did, as I say. I'm pretty sure everybody had some version of Robocop. Interesting, because Robocop, the film, is an 18. It's Casey Wong for the film. How did they get Casey Wong for the film in the game? I don't know how you make games. Aye, Robocop the film is a hard 18. There's a lot of violence and stuff in it. There's blood, and I think you can see a lassie's. You don't see any breasts, but you see a woman's bra, if I remember right. Dick Jones sends Clarence Boddicker, I'm sure, to do somebody in, and he's doing cocaine off a woman's boobs. And her boobs are inside a bra. This is just going by my memory. I just know, like, I watched that bit a lot more than all the other bits. In fact, it's a good film, Robocop. You don't mind if I call you Robocop, do you? Just a wee bit of humour. So, in between the levels where you go from right to left shooting guys, I think what works in Robocop the game is that Robocop the man in the film is a bit stiff like that anyway, so you're not expecting to do any acrobatics. You're happy with just tanking it along the street, tearing all this human flesh apart with your weaponry. That sounded a bit violently rude. I've got no memory of this section of Robocop. I think I've nailed it here with this guy's face, right? I have that, that's perfect, that's near enough in it. That'll do. You'll catch him, apart from the nose and the chin and the ears. I don't remember that bit for the game. I must have just skipped past that in the past. I don't think there isn't. You can skip past this a little bit. This game is rock solid hard, but something happened when I don't know, some cheat turned itself on and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off, and so I just finished the game with the cheat on. I didn't have any option because I couldn't figure out how to turn the cheat off. You can see my predicament. There's Ric Flair's at it again. You need to match Ric Flair's face, which is marginally more difficult than it was the last time you did it. No, I definitely still get the appeal of this game. This is the very last level. I shouldn't really be showing you. This is a major spoiler, you know what I mean? You'd need to play Robocop perfectly for about 25 minutes to finish the game, but you need to play it absolutely perfectly because I say it's rock solid hard. It sort of stands up. It's definitely playable if a cheat somehow turns itself on. It's somehow I shot the guy there. Did you see that? That was in very good form. Luckily in the game you need to shoot people multiple times for it to do any damage. That's not the case in the ultra-violent sci-fi film. Nice shooting, son. What is your name? Murphy, member for the film, Murphy. Congratulations. He ignores your name, Murphy, and just calls you Robocop anyway. Congratulations, Robocop. See you in Robocop 2. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to... Congratulations, Robocop. See you in Robocop 2. Are you talking to the player? Are you saying to Robocop, I'll see you, Robocop, in Robocop 2? Because surely Robocop's going to be involved with the production of Robocop 2, so you'll see him before. You played it, didn't you?
Thank you for your cooperation. Listen, I think that's a great game.
It is. It is.
Ocean, who brought out Robocop, it would be nice to do a special bit on Ocean at some point. You know, it feels weird you're leaving the 80s and we've not said enough about Ocean software. There was, even though they were based in England, there was an air of glamour about Ocean, wasn't there? Because they had all the film IPs.
That's only when you're looking at the content and the games and the logos and things like that. When you actually look at the guys that worked at Ocean, that Hollywood mystique kind of evaporates. It looks like guys that work at a printer company.
It's gone. It's absolutely gone. I mean, it's an incredible story when you think about it, the Ocean story. Just these English boys who ended up making Robocop games and all that. It's crazy stuff. It's like us. Like, imagine somebody saying to us, the new, Rab and Ryan, going to make a game about, what's the big movie this year? Red One. That's the biggest movie of the year, isn't it? The biggest, most successful movie of the year is Red One, starring The Rock and Captain America.
Okay.
You make a Red One movie, a game, Rab and Ryan, and then we do that. Doesn't make sense, does it? No. You wouldn't ask us to make a game about Red One. No. Don't care I don't care how many Oscars it's won.
Has it won Oscars?
Yeah, I think so.
Good, well done. The Rock's good.
The first game I want to talk about,
Go on then.
Is a game that's incredibly important to me. I feel like this game played a huge part in my development, and it's called Zach McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders. As I film this right now, it's the 14th of December 2024, and I'm out doing what I do most nights. I'm watching the skies. I've always had a fascination with space, the skies, aliens and such. So I like to take a wee drive down to my local pier here in Helensburgh to just watch the skies from my car. There's also a nuclear base along there as well, so I like to keep my eyes on the skies above the nuclear base in particular, for reasons that will become clear in the months and years ahead. My fascination with space and with aliens perhaps began with a game from Lucasfilm called Zach McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders, which is a Commodore 64 game that I first played, and Consolvania fans will remember me mentioning this a lot. I first played this in my cousin Ramie's house in Clydebank. Let's pull up some images of Zach McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders. Can we pull up some images of... There we go. Oh no, that's images of UAPs. Let's get rid of them. Let's see some images of Zach McKracken and the... There we go. As you can see, if you're looking at that, this was a game that used the Scum engine, the same engine that was used for Maniac Mansion. I think this might have been the second game to use that engine. And it was originally intended, apparently by the lead designer, David Fox, it was originally intended to be quite a serious game, but it skewed over time towards comedy. This is a comedy game. And this actually was a game that had a huge influence on me comedy-wise. It was the first time I kind of realised, you know, as a kid, remember, I was only about 10, 11 years old when I played this. It was the first time I realised, well, you can tell a big story, a big ambitious story, and you can still cram it full of gags, and it will still work. And this was like American comedy. This was like Marx Brothers references. It had a kind of vaudeville vibe to it. Old school comedy. Clean stuff. Wee bit of double entendre in there, but really, really funny. And even for, like, you know, an 11-year-old, really funny. And when I played it in adult life, there was other jokes I was able to get, you know. And also, we need to give Zach McKracken a shout out for being ahead of its time as well, because it featured a lot of the, well, let's say conspiracy theories that are still quite popular to this day. You know, like the face on Mars and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It was about aliens who had come to Earth to use this device to make humanity stupid. And even that, I think, satire, right? It was essentially about using, it was a telephone company, right, that was doing this. But essentially the game was talking about how media was being used to make people more stupid, more pliable, more easy to conquer, you know what I mean? Man, if Zach McKracken and the Alien Mindbenders had been able to predict things like Twitter, Instagram, social media, it would have been that the aliens were using in the game to make us all fucking dafter, to make us all believe stupid stuff like flying saucers and drones over New Jersey that might come from somewhere surprising. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to stay down here and watch the skies. Zach McKracken was a belter game, came in 2 discs. 2 discs. And I will love it to my dying day, putting it into my big bread bin sized Commodore 64 disc drive. 2 discs, I'm sure. They big floppy discs. Like big square chapatis. Putting them inside my big bread bin disc drive in my Commodore 64, and then it would make that noise. Missy days. You red light. It's loading. That's loading. Zach McKracken's loading. You like to come? You've seen it. Aye. Keep watching the skies.
Feels like it's one of the games that you talk about more, Zach McKracken. It's one of the more important games in your gaming library.
Yeah, definitely important. So, what kind of content? So again, we like to talk about a film, maybe a couple of TV things. What kind of content do you want to face first, Ryan? What do you want to challenge first.
Let me just check my file effects here.
He's having a wee look in his file of facts. He's going through his notes. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan McLoud is going to choose some content for us right now. Ryan?
It's actually a wee bit different in this episode because we're trying to push the Christmas aspect to get the Christmas. This is GUFT's idea. We're obviously wanting to push for the Christmas market. We're going to get a bit of
But
Christmas
I think,
content.
listen, they harm to GUFT, but I think this is nonsense because people aren't going to be listening to this at Christmas. This is a generational, historical document that people are going to be listening to for years to come. They're not going to be listening to Christmas. I think GUFT, I'm sorry, I don't care what kind of punishment they put down on me, but I think GUFT are out of line on this one. I think this is the kind of stuff that David Icke and all these people, these are the kind of criticisms they level at us by saying, GUFT, they pay too much attention to immediate temporal matters, the ITM, the immediate temporal matters. I think it's a fair criticism in this case. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I agree with David Icke, but I think it's a fair criticism in this case. Sorry, Ryan, on you go.
Let's go for a wee bit of telly, yeah? A wee bit of telly. We got quite a lot of comedy in this episode.
We got a lot of comedy. We don't normally cover comedy because it's quite difficult to review, I think, comedy when you're outside the time that it appeared in. What comedy in particular would you like to talk about?
Let's have a look at... Let's cozy in. I feel like it could have a quality of like helping us cozy in if we have a look at whose line is it anyway.
The most. Yes. So let's see. Can we see Ryan's Clive Anderson again? Clive Anderson was the host. Ryan Daypop. Going to Daypop.
How did I Daypop again?
Daypop, come on.
How did I Daypop?
Aye, alright. How did I Daypop? Come on, Daypop. You're the best pop. Your ears. Do you date something with your ears? Do the wipe the slabbers away. Fucking brilliant, man. Daypop, while that music's going. Listen, that's the most depressing title music.
You think?
Oh yeah. Name me a more depressing title music. Maybe
Hill Street
the World
Blues.
at War. Hill Street Blues. No, I don't think Hill Street Blues is more a kind of bittersweet nostalgia. No, there's something extremely depressing about. This is going to be an interesting one. The episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway that we covered. Whose Line Is It Anyway is an improv comedy show.
Most people, I think, will know about this. Did it start off British? I actually don't know what order it came in because it's went across the pond as well.
This is what I'm not sure about. There's definitely an American version of it. I'm not sure which came first. I think the British one came first.
I thought so as well, but we might be wrong.
Or was there maybe there was a Canadian one or something and then Britain?
Well, it's gone everywhere now. The format
we really
has
should
gone
have
everywhere.
researched it,
But it was definitely one of the earliest ones. If it wasn't the first, it was one of the earliest.
Yeah, I think
ones.
let's just say it was the first. I don't remember seeing any American episodes.
I remember
earlier
seeing
than this.
American ones later, like much later after the 80s UK version, so I'm pretty confident that...
So it's hosted by a guy called Clive Anderson, who I believe I think he was like a lawyer in civilian life, and then he's a host of this show, and a more horrible wee bastard. That's his persona. His persona is, I don't mean that in any negative way to Clive Anderson. His persona is, I'm a horrible wee bastard.
I'm a horrible wee snide wee smart
bastard.
Aye.
Clive Anderson famously later in his career has a chat show where
he obviously had no idea. I don't think any has really realised at the time that happened with the on his chat show he had the Bee Gees on, but I don't think any has realised what damage it had done to like our perception of who Clive Anderson is, because I think he's forever tarnished as just that wee wank.
Yeah.
In fact, I might just leave.
Yeah. Oh, I've never had anyone walk out before, but...
we are a tosser, pal. So anyway... Night, everybody.
This is a setup.
So and I quite respect that. I quite respect people that go for that. My persona is going to be, I'm a horrible wee bastard on stuff. I quite like that. I think it's quite a good comedy persona. I've done it quite a lot, doing telly stuff, as anybody who watched Video Guide and all their shows. I quite liked sometimes being like, I'll be a bastard on this. I think it's a good comedy persona. But yeah, again, coloured by the chat show stuff where you kind of think he was actually a bit of a horrible.
There was
wee
nothing
bot,
much else happening there. It was just a bit of a wee nasty.
Just being a snidey wee bastard.
Aye.
So it's presented by Snidey Wee Bastard. On this episode, we have the 4 comedy talents of
Very, very strong lineup.
an insanely strong lineup. Stephen Fry, Peter Cook, by Christ, Josie Lawrence, and John Sessions. So a real premium lineup on this show. And to explain how the show works, it's improv, so they play different improv games. So, for example, you have to act out a scene, but you have to act out a scene in the style of, let's get a suggestion for the audience, a porno, Shakespeare, stuff like that. British satire, a guy shouts out at one point.
Satire.
Can we have, from the audience, can we have some ideas for British satire? A guy shouts.
Somebody also shouts, which they go, oh no, they don't go for it, but somebody also shouts, Woody Allen!
Woody Allen! I think it's a woman as well. This is back in the day before every woman hated Woody Allen. Woody Allen! At one point. So then we play the games, and they play the games, and the 4 performers, their job is to improvise funny scenes and be funny. Ryan.
There was a wee bit of an indication when I think they had to come up with authors. They had to do skits based on particular authors that they could choose themselves. But I think there was an indication that they'd been given forewarning about that before the show.
Yeah, there was something at the start where they were kind of like...
It's definitely improvised, but they get a wee bit of...
yeah.
You'll need to do this.
But you could definitely see, you always see in whose line is it anyway, a wee bit of confusion or a wee bit of eye rolling for them, and they're kind of like, oh, this isn't my wheelhouse. For example, in this episode, there's a rap bit, and you can see Stephen Fry's like, oh, fuck, this isn't my...
It's so funny, but...
This isn't my thing.
Well, there's obviously a lot of unpleasantness that has to be gone through before the baby eventually comes out and chirrups. I mean, for a start, of course, the poor mother has to put her foot in those revolting stirrups. And you've got to be very careful to make sure the baby doesn't come out in other unpleasant pieces. And to stop that happening, I recommend amniocentesis. So that's a very good thing to have there. When I was born, the umbilical cord was cut with a sabre.
So Stephen Fry, funny.
So come on, Ryan, take it away. Have you got any notes? Have you got anything?
Woody Allen, for the very first bit that Peter Cook does, I was like, he has such a practiced hand at this, such a skilled and practiced and talented hand. I thought not that he blew everybody away, because it was right at the start of the show, but it just gave you an indication of how good Peter Cook
For anybody
is.
who doesn't know, right, Peter Cook is considered one of the most legendary figures in British comedy. He was in a double act with Dudley Moore, which was hugely influential upon people. He was responsible. Private Eye, which is still kicking about to this day, was Peter Cook was behind that, and an extremely important figure in the history of British comedy.
He's a pillar.
He's sitting there smoking a cigarette all the way through this, smoking a cigarette inside in the studio all the way through this. And I was looking at Stephen Fry sitting there beside Peter Cook and doing scenes and doing skits with Peter Cook, and I was thinking to myself, Stephen Fry must be thinking he's in fucking heaven doing this, because this is a guy who would have been a hero of Stephen Fry's when he was younger.
Definitely. There's one, but I think it was Fry and Cook doing a skit together where Cook protested that they'd already done 3 bits. So I think they'd been asked to do another one, they'd do a 4th one. He's like, well, we've already done 3.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then he sat down and had a fag again after he was done.
Now, Josie Lawrence, I just want to talk a wee bit about Josie Lawrence.
We tried to get an episode when we were choosing an episode. We really wanted to hit an episode that had Josie Lawrence and
Tony
Slattery in it, because they're like 2 of the most memorable figures of our youth. But Slattery's not in this one, unfortunately.
No, but we also, I mean, you just couldn't resist this lineup because of how heavyweight it was. And Josie Lawrence is, I don't want to keep bringing this into this, but we talk straight on this show, right? But she was the one there that if you were watching it as a wee guy, you fancied Josie Lawrence. That was like
definitely thought she was beautiful, but I also thought she was really intimidating as well, because she is so good at it. She's good at it.
What struck me, no, I won't. And let's talk about John Sessions first of all as well.
I really enjoyed the slight ribbon that John Sessions were getting for being good at stuff, for being a good actor. for being
like talented. He was getting a bit of a ribbon for being a talented actor. Ryan, give me some Merriam notes.
Was it Peter Cook that said something about the punchline of the skit ended up with "I'll nail you to the floor" or something like that? But it was really off and it didn't work.
Yeah, it was like a kid getting nailed to the floor or something.
Aye, it didn't work anyway. It didn't work. It was odd.
The reason why I'm being a wee bit strange in this section is that I fucking hated this.
You hated the show?
I
You
fucking
joking?
hated it.
What did you hate about it? Are we starting the Séance early?
It was a group of fucking posh smart asses.
But that's what it always was.
Smug fucking smart asses.
How do you say that about Peter Cook and then go a bunch of...
Peter Cook is rotten on it.
He's,
I think he's fucking bad on it.
see, this is the risky run when it comes to comedy. What I thought of the show was that it really reminded me like 10:35 maybe actually on a night time on Channel 4, and a coziness and really looking forward to it. That's what it really reminded me of.
This felt like...
Did you definitely watch plenty of it back in the day?
I remember it would always be on when I was a kid, and it would be on, right? And my dad would watch it. And I don't ever really remember my dad laughing at it very much. And I remember my dad didn't like Clive Anderson. And then later on there was that guy with a piano as well on our posho. With a piano. And this, right, first of all, improv is fucking rotten. On the whole, improv is fucking bad, right? And no harm to anybody that does improv out there, but it's up there with fucking like slam poetry as like some of the fucking worst stuff you can consume, right? And it's also a world full of poshos, right? Posh bastards. And this is the reason why I was shouting earlier, British satire! British satire! Is because there was just a moment, it was like there was a perfect storm of like John Sessions was doing a bit where he's saying some fucking big words in the style of fucking Hemingway or something, right?
I think it was Hemingway.
And Clive Anderson's like chuckling in his seat, and a cunt shouting out, British satire from the back, and you're thinking to yourself, thank fucking God most of these people are dead now. No, I'm being harsh. I'm being harsh. Well, Peter Cook's dead. John Sessions is dead.
Is he?
John Sessions is dead.
I forgot.
I'm being harsh, but you were excluded for this world. And this is nothing against Stephen Fry, because I loved Stephen Fry. Like, A Bit of Fry and Laurie is just one of the greatest telly shows ever made, and it was so important to me, that show, and and so much other stuff that Stephen Fry did. So it's like no harm to the individuals involved. But this kind of show that surely was only funny when you were at Cambridge or Oxford and watching like Footlights and watching these people doing these in the style of like fucking even like writers. I was like, I even sitting the new at the age of 47 years old, a writer I'd never heard of, and they're doing it in the style of that. And Peter Cook is so overbearing. He's kind of gone long and kind of talking and kind of taking control and going over the top of people a wee bit. And it's just kind of unpleasant. And even Josie Lawrence is getting treated by them as like, all the skits today all kind of turn a wee bit in a kind of slightly sexual kind of way. There's a kind of kind of horrible male energy in it as well. And I just fucking hated it, man. I didn't like it back in the day either. I liked it more back in the day when the Americans came in it, because I felt like when the Americans came in it, it diluted that fucking posh, Ryan Stiles and all that Canadians and Americans came in, and it diluted that posh Oxford, Cambridge stuff that was just fucking write some jokes. Don't.
But everybody else is doing that. Why not do this as well? It's just improv.
I just think it's. I mean, can you think of anything worse than like pretend you're coming to a party but do it in the style of fucking Emily Bronte? Get to fuck, man. It's torture, Ryan. And I can see you don't agree with me.
John Sessions, what I mainly took for it was, I didn't watch it with judging eyes, like going, oh, it's funny that Stephen Fry's went that bit of cellophane's saliva. Well, that's a funny joke.
That was the one time I laughed in the whole episode was when Stephen Fry put that. He put a load of bubble wrap in his mouth, a big giant bit, and he kind of held it in his mouth, and he was standing there for ages. You could see he was thinking, and then he said, "This is saliva," and that was funny. You know what I mean? that was the one time I laughed through it.
But I wasn't watching it judging the comedy. I was watching it mainly being reminded, I remember how cosy this was and how much I did used to enjoy it and how much I look forward to it. And also how much it felt like they packed in, because it's only works out about 23 minutes or something, the show. It always felt like an episode.
It's a Channel 4 half hour, so it's fast.
It felt like it had quite a lot packed into the 20 odd minutes that it was on. So no, I definitely wasn't as hard. I love Peter Cook, I love Stephen Fry. Fucking John Sessions made Stella Street, which is one of my favourite comedy shows.
But I would say everything that people were involved in was great because it was written. Improv is just to be funny in improv. There's very, very few people who can do it, and that I don't know if it was just this particular episode we picked. Because obviously there's later ones that have Paul Merton in it and stuff, and you know, and things are kind of softened and more surreal or whatever. But this is a real example of the kind of sorry streak that's in British, which is in British fucking the arts in Britain in general. It's probably worse now than it's been for a long time, where it's like a load of posh people. And it was too posh, man. It was just too smug. And they all think they're fucking brilliant as well. They all think they're brilliant.
They are brilliant. John Sessions is brilliant, Stephen Fry's brilliant, Peter Cook's brilliant, Josie Lawrenson's brilliant. They're all brilliant. Clive Anderson, he's a brilliant lawyer.
You're supposed to think you're brilliant, you know? Or maybe you're, I don't know, I just hated it.
You should have, for this bit, you should have put on a string vest and a headband and
I will tell you this, boy! No, listen. I think it was just never funny, really. Whose line is it anyway?
Well, lots of
it was
people
always just,
disagree
there's a
with that.
guy fucking pretending he's a fish. Blah, 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 I'm a fish. There's a guy, you come to the door, you know, Tony Slattery going up to his door. All right, who's this coming in?
Why did the fish go blah, blah, blah? The fish do that with their tongues?
I don't know. Who's this?
Oh, I'm drowning.
Tony Slattery goes to his door because he's having a party. Right, who's this? Who's this coming in? A guy come in and be like, hey, Zeke Heil! Oh, I think Hitler's come to my party. You're like, fuck off, man.
You just weren't in the mood, were you? You just weren't in the mood. Can you imagine you went to a dinner party and people were acting like that? How would you take it in the flesh if you were there?
What if I went to a dinner party and people were acting like they were on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Doing improv.
I'd pull my fucking AK-47 I'd pull out my AK-47.
That you'd take to a dinner party?
It just should never have been allowed on telly. It should never have been allowed on telly, that, because you know, and it's also the precursor to all these terrible panel shows now as well. It's just,
That's true. I'll give you that. The scourge of the panel show that never quite went away.
I can get a silly fuck, man.
I liked it. I thought it was cosy and fun.
But I think you only think it's cosy because you're kind of remembering
10,
a time.
1988, I'm 10.
I think you're remembering a time. Oh, and it's definitely cosy because it's safe. Like, nobody's going to say anything
also
outrageous.
The sets are carpeted and...
I know, because none of the people on it have ever fucking been in a house without a carpet. That's why. We're fucking posh bastards, man. Whose line is it anyway?
Posh people have never been in a house that don't have carpets.
Here's a line for you. Go away and get to fuck. Here's a line.
Okay, right. That's enough.
Can I talk about a wee computer game?
Go.
One of the most fascinating games to me back in 1988. Again, I didn't play it in 1988, so it gives a bit of creative license here, right? But when I did play it, this 1988 release, I was obsessed and fascinated by it, even though I could never really properly make head nor tail it. It was called Hostages. Oh ho ho, now you're talking. Never mind your blocky, pixelated 50 sheets to a game. Games for the early 80s on no siree. Now we're in the era of amazing graphics, of attractive attract screens, of things that make you think this is going to be something special. This is Hostages, French game about being SAS kind of type guys rescuing hostages from hostage situations. Nowadays you'd call it propaganda. Press fire to start. Right, let's see, what have we got today? And the game starts with you trying to get your guys into the building. You do that by running along, trying to avoid these spotlights, jumping over walls and ducking into doorways and stuff. It's not actually that exciting. This is the thing though, this is us moving into the era of the kind of whiz-bang graphics, because it does look absolutely amazing, but you know, often you would get into the game and you'd kind of go, well, it's impressive, but it's not actually that thrilling, is it? You know, I used to play this game quite a lot. I used to get a wee bit further than this into, I think I remember coming down on the ropes. Never used to get very far because eventually I would just start to get a wee bit bored, you know. It's all good and well seeing these nice animations and, oh, this is good, you get multiple characters and you can go and, no, this guy can get a shot of avoiding the spotlights and stuff, and then you all run along and then you just want to stick Chucky egg on, didn't you, really? So there you go. French,
Never heard of that.
I believe. See, I've made trouble for myself here now because I record the bit about hostages later than what I said there, and I might check and it isn't French, and I've just came out saying French. See, this is a problem.
Right.
This is a slight temporal flux in how this is put together, this show. It's this GUFT secret. So
July 6th is the Weave. July 6th, a series of explosions and fires destroys the Piper Alpha North Sea oil drilling platform, killing 167 North Sea oil workers.
that was a bad one. My father-in-law managed oil rigs, so that was his job, managing oil rigs. And it just sounds like, that's a dangerous game.
Hold on. July 8th, 1988, Stevie Wonder announces he will run for mayor of Detroit in 1992. Remember that?
In 1992?
He's announcing that he's going to, in 4 years, run to become mayor of Detroit.
Did he ever do it?
I don't think so. Not my knowledge.
That is a weird one.
Maybe they just told him that he won or something and they sat him in an office for a few years.
Have you got any games you want to...
Go on then.
Sponsored by GUFT, remember, by the way, CVXX. Now listen, if you want to become part of this movement, you know how to do it. Like and subscribe. You hook up to a Patreon and get all the extra stuff, and just on the whole, just be a good guy, man.
Just do the right thing.
Or if you're a woman, just be a good woman, man.
Just do the right thing.
What have you got for me, Ryan?
Chase HQ.
Look how happy that guy is in the right. Loves being a cop. Sometimes I feel bad, slick transition. Sometimes I feel bad about us not getting an opportunity. It feels quite yet to get as in-depth with the games that we're covering in CVXX. But then I play a game like Chase HQ and I remember that it isn't even possible to be in-depth about something like this. How did I not hit that car though? That was a miracle. You hit everything in this game, it's so frustrating. This game is not fun to play, and I've played so many racing games that are a carbon copy of this. You skid too much, you lose control and you hit something. You slow all the way back down again, you need to speed all the way back up again. It's no fun to play. So it's basically a racing game for a wee while, and then you see, there he is, criminals here. That must be what driving looks like to police officers. Big arrows pointing at the cars. Criminal here. And once you've spotted the criminal, you need to ram him over and over and over again. Sometimes he'll drive away and you need to catch him again just so that you can ram him. It's not much fun. There's 5 stages as well. They're all more or less exactly the same. You're doing exactly the same thing 5 times in a row. I had a memory as well. Maybe one of you can help me out here. I thought it was in Chase HQ that you captured a suspect and then there was a section where you interrogated them, and I have this picture in my mind that I'm seeing here of like you have to violently interrogate a suspect by wiggling the zip stick before your boss comes down the stair to stop you for doing it and catching you for being rough with it. But that doesn't happen in Chase HQ. It wasn't Chase HQ I was thinking. All you do is ram this guy for ages and ages and ages. God, we must have been so understimulated. The way this game sounds, I mean, it's horrible to play, but the way it sounds isn't great. It's not the nicest thing to look at either, to be honest. I'm grateful that you can't taste Chase HQ because it looks like shit, and it sounds like shit, and it plays like shit, so I would be afraid to taste it. I'm glad I don't still have the box. I would like the box, but I would be afraid of what the box would taste like. It's pretty high octane stuff though, it's good.
You know, that game is from a time when car chases were important within culture. I kind of feel like car chases are no longer as important within culture. You don't see them in many films. You don't see them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now, before we started recording, talking about things you don't see much anymore, but you did see back in the 1980s, Ryan, you asked me...
White jobbies?
No, not white jobbies. That's been done. But you asked me a question about plugs.
Oh, fuck aye.
Do you want to fill us in?
Because we're in the studio, we're in the GUFT studio here, and you wouldn't believe the amount of sockets. There are literally thousands of sockets.
Limitless.
And I was saying to Robert, I was looking at the power block, and I was saying, do you remember when you were... Because back in the day, you didn't just have a console that did everything for you. You needed your computer, and you needed your tape deck, and you needed your monitor. So you had several things that you had to plug in to the wall. But you didn't always have all the plugs. You needed a plug. You should have had a plug and a fuse for each device that you're plugging in. But you never always had that, being skint. So I was asking, did you ever take the wires and stick them into the wall and just shove them, force them in with a plug? And you did, didn't you?
Absolutely. And it was a thing I'd completely forgot was even a thing that people did. But we absolutely did that, Ryan.
So you didn't have enough plugs?
We would take the
blue
cable,
one and the brown one.
The brown and the blue at the end, and we'd put them in the holes of the socket and put a plug in on top.
Force them in.
Of that to squeeze it in. Which just sounds completely demented that we would have done that. How dangerous is that?
I think it's quite dangerous. Any kind of power surges and stuff, you're fucked.
If there's any electricians out there who could let us know exactly how dangerous that is, we would love to hear, because this was
a PO box.
This was a thing that happened very regularly.
I think there were a lot of house files in the 80s. I think more so than
do you want to talk about another comedy, or do you want to talk about a movie?
Let's...
Well, we do the comedy, we do the other comedy, because I kind of feel like we need to purify...
Go on then. I mean, I didn't dislike Whose Line Is It anywhere near as much as
No,
you
but
did,
I feel like we're at the other end of the spectrum here.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like we're at the other end of the spectrum, because this thing we're looking at is called Alexis Sayle's Stuff.
Who's that fat bastard?
Alexis Sayle was a very important alternative comic, they called him, because he came up as part of that movement. First time I saw Alexis Sayle was probably in The Young Ones.
Same.
His stand-up was outrageous. But Alexis Sayle's Stuff is a sketch
Brainy,
show.
ain't he?
Huh?
Dead brainy, ain't he? He writes books and stuff. He's brainy.
But listen.
I've read one of his fiction books, it was good.
Genuinely brainy. No fucking posh guy brainy. No Whose Line Is It Anyway brainy. No name dropping famous authors.
Actually hates posh people, brainy.
A thinker, yeah. Proper brainy as in, I understand who the baddies are and who the goodies are. That kind of brainy. Alexis Sayle's Stuff, however, was his own vehicle for sketches. And this, quite simply, Ryan, is the kind of show that just you would not get made now in a million years.
No. It's weird because it still has a kind of fresh, lively feel to it, but also feels like a template as well. Like I know I talk about what we made more often than I probably should, but when I think about like writing skits and stuff like that and writing scenes, I think about something like Alexis Sayle's Stuff. Like there's not just the format, but it's the spirit of what we were going for. We're making kind of like, when you think about making like chaotic TV,
but also chaotic that kind of all flows together and kind of dovetails together. Now, to be fair, even though I've went on a Posho rant, right? Obviously Monty Python were the first in that kind of, well, no, the first, because there's also Spike Milligan as well, right? But let's not get into all of that, right? But obviously Monty Python is always there in your mind when you think of these sketches that kind of run into each other and comment upon each other and stuff like that, right? That's a kind of Milligan, Monty Python thing. Monty Python, there's some posh guys in Monty Python, right? Let's be fair. But Alexis Sayle's Stuff, the first thing that struck me, because right from the start, even for the BBC Two logo, he's making jokes about the BBC Two logo. So he's having fun with the whole notion of even being on TV. I mean, something like that is something that you just wouldn't, I don't think editorially you'd be able to do nowadays, what with branding rules and stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to have a joke about the BBC Two logo right at the start, or fucking about with the branding like that. You just wouldn't be allowed. And this is what I mean, like, for a practicality point of view, in terms of editorial and all of that, I just don't think a show like Alexis Hilt stuff would be able to exist. But it's also super authored as well. It's also like clearly exactly what he wants to make, you know, and even that is quite shocking to see in today's environment.
Right off the bat, you've got Lynn for Alan Partridge. I know. I've forgotten what the actress's name is. Do you know her name?
I forget her name as well.
But it's Lynn anyway, but she's dead good. Also, is it Morwenna Banks?
Yes, Morwenna Banks is there. Listen, I just want to say as well, because you were talking about being inspired by stuff. When it did that, so Alexis Hill's out in the street and he's talking, and he's out in the actual street and he's talking and doing a bit, talking to the camera, but there's a really wide shot that kind of zooms in on him, and so we used to do that in Pennsylvania. It's like this, you know, there's things in this you're watching kind of going, right, I can see the influence.
Also the attitude that he had and stuff, a bit like, I shouldn't be, like, I'm not supposed to be on telly like that. Well, that was also something that we borrowed, I suppose, without realising that attitude of, we're not meant to be here.
Well, stuff has that kind of really well-known opening where it's this really handsome guy in a sports car who drives to the TV centre and then gets his makeup put on and his bald cap put on and his big fat suit put on and gets transformed into Alexis Hilt, just as a comment on, like, you know, this is the type of guy you're normally expecting to see on a telly, which is beautiful, which is self-deprecating. Again, which is the complete opposite of this fucking weird shit you're seeing happening in Whose Lines It Anyway, where they're all talking about how brilliant everybody is. Sorry.
I liked Alexis. It just seemed like a show that a guy had sat down and written. No, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but just written a load of nonsense. Like, he just enjoyed himself for half hour's worth of a script, and then he went and he made it with the BBC. But in particular, I like things like his the names that he makes up that people have got, like Janet Barbecue and David Pincer Movement.
Yeah, and also
it's just silly. It's very, very silly.
And a holiday firm called Crap Bags Holidays, which really made me laugh at how straight to how direct football that was as well. He does a really old-fashioned traditional sketch about a guy coming to your door because he's like, "Do you want me to boil your cat, sir?" He's a guy who boils cats, but it's a really traditional sketch. It's like, it's no even, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing kind of postmodern about it or anything. It's really quite traditional, but he's just having fun with it. No, everything works in the half hour, but it's, you're so happy to go with it because it is so authored, because you're kind of like, this is this guy taking us on this journey. You know, if this bit's not working, I'm going to wait to the next bit because something's going to come along that I'm going to like. There's a sketch that I thought was really great about God being a disappointment, like God disappointing people. So people have prayed to God and asked for things to happen and God's ignored them. And so they and a link to a previous episode of CVXX, they do a cook report still bit where somebody doorsteps God to ask him, like, why he's been such a bad God. Do you know what I mean?
He's too busy.
Yeah, he's too busy, and he's like, please don't film me and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a kind of lovely, kind of inventive and imaginative bit.
That's also the sketch, I think, where he moves like a lunatic, and then somebody goes, that must be God moving in mysterious ways.
He's never shy of doing a good old kind of the Beano style joke in amongst all the...
When you're as hepped up as Alexis Hilt and as angry and as frightened as him, you can just say normal punchlines and it's funny again because he's doing it that way.
Weird thing about Alexis Hilt is that he had a reputation back in the day as this kind of angry, violent performer and all that, right? Something that struck me watching it was that you can feel the kindness and compassion of this guy flowing out of him. Even though he was considered like an intimidating, frightening performer, you're like, no, actually he was just kind of threatening to a lot of people, I think, because his heart was in the right place, which I think frightened a lot of people. Because he's even though this show never comes across as particularly aggressive, but it's also at the same time angry.
People shout "shut up" a lot, and like a lot of the different characters, including him and a lot of other characters, shout "shut up."
There's a lot of "shut up." There's a lot of "fuck off, you fat bastard." That kind of humour in it. There's also like a big music video kind of bit in it
for quite a long time,
which isn't particularly funny, but as an example of, this was a time when sketch shows were allowed to really stretch their legs and try stuff and experiment and spend money on their sequences. And it's like, it's funny, but it wasn't particularly funny or particularly strong, but I was still like, I'm glad it's in there because it's, it's just an expression.
They could have trimmed it down. I would have changed 2 bits. I would have trimmed that down, and I would have taken out the coach sketch with the lassie in it.
I really liked that. What, the holiday one? I really liked that bit.
No.
I really liked that, but I don't know why. I think just because, again, it's that thing, it's that, we spoke about Cop in the last episode, and James Woods making sure he was in every scene. And I like that thing of, there's going to be a section here where it's just another performer and they're going to carry it and they're going to do their thing. And I just, I liked it. I really laughed at this segment where they were interviewing the new director of the Royal Opera Company, Sir Freddie Krueger. And it was Freddie Krueger who was creating a whole load of new violent stuff for the Royal Opera Company, which is great. And you're just never sure. It's one of these shows where you're never sure what you're going to see next.
It's daft, isn't it? It's very daft. I like the wee guys as cops as well. The Waynes playing cops.
Yeah, well, he does the closing link in the show, and it does this thing where
by the way, because it does the thing where it kind of cuts behind the camera, and it shows you the amount of people that are working. It's just him, just Alexis Hilt talking to the camera.
Yeah, then a piece the camera.
There's like 6 people around him, like people with scripts and
piece the camera, and then it cuts and breaks that. And then you're behind the crew, to the side of the crew, and you see how many people there are there, which would never happen nowadays. And they're all there shooting him. And then there's this cop car across the road, and inside the cop car there's 2 kids as police, right? Now this all eventually builds up to a thing about Alexis Hilt talking about, have you noticed how police are all getting younger, right? Which again is a kind of Beano style joke, right? But there's also there's something really artful about the way it's all constructed in it. There's something really artful just about that sequence, and asking him if they can see his fat license. That's fucking really funny, right? And I just kind of think that it made me feel sad actually watching it. It made me feel sad in the way that you would never really see faith like that being shown in a writer performer nowadays, where they would just kind of go, you've kind of got carte blanche to make your thing. Now, of course, Alexis Hilt could watch or hear this and be like, I didn't get fucking carte blanche, I had to fight for every minute of that. That's possible as well, right? But I still just kind of think, I can't even think of a recent telly show that would be anything like that, anything as creative as that. No. I met Alexis Hilt once. I'll tell you the story of how I met Alexis Hilt, because I was down in London, and I was down in London for some meetings, and I know Muriel Gray, the writer and telly personality from this era as well, right? And up to now, not just for this era, and up to now, right? But Muriel's, I know Muriel, and she was like, if you're in London, why don't you come for a coffee? I'm down here as well. And I was like, oh cool, where are you? And I don't know London, so she sent me like
fucking coffee in London. Who's posh now? Huh?
She sent me an address, and so I'm doing that thing of navigating across through the tube stations to find it. And 5 minutes before I get to the coffee shop, Muriel messages and she says, I hope you don't mind, but Alexis Hilt's here. He's going to be hanging about. And I absolutely shat myself.
Did you still go?
Still went, but I needed way more than 5 minutes to prepare myself for pulling up to have coffee, and Alexis Hilt was going to be there. But he was an absolute sweetheart of a guy, as you would imagine, a totally nice, lovely sweetheart of a guy. But it was incredibly, you're sitting there, and I did say to him how important his stuff was to me, and how much I love these, I love these stuff, and he was really sweet and really nice. But it's just they people, they people for that time. It was just that realisation, you're going to be seeing him in 5 minutes. Wasn't he ready for it? Wasn't he ready for it? I'm sure he felt the same about me as well when he heard I was turning up.
I'm sure. So you liked Alexis Hill's stuff then?
Oh,
it was the first episode of the first series that we watched, incidentally.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was a really good one.
I thought it was great, and I was just thinking, what a great performer. And you could a guy like that as well, who is just a guy with his heart in the right place and with stuff to say, with things to say, And I think, and I did watch it. I had just watched Whose Line Is It Anyway and stuff like that as well, and it was the perfect tonic, man, because I just needed something like that. I needed that.
He got punched in the nuts at the end. That's how the episode ends at the end. Is it the wee cop? I think the wee cop punches.
Need him in the balls or punched him. No,
he
punched
got one
him,
in the balls.
He got one in the balls anyway, which is how every comedy show should end.
Aye.
With somebody getting hit in the balls. Bottom knew that. Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson's Bottom knew that you should always end with somebody getting violently hurt in some fashion. That's how every comedy show should end. So
that was a hit then?
That was a hit. Alexis Hilt stuff. Check it out. All this stuff is available online. If you have a look, you can revisit the past. You can revisit when comedy was comedy before complete.
I'm going to look at what else is
editorial cowardice took her. Now, in this modern time, and today, I'm talking about the modern life. It's that, we're time slipping a wee bit, but I just want to talk about now. Shogun. TV show.
TV series? I've never seen it.
TV series Shogun. Very good, by the way. Based on James Clavell's book, Shogun. But there was also a Shogun game made back in the day by Infocom, who are... Infocom are very, very important. And I might actually take this opportunity to just have a talk about Infocom in general, Ryan, if you'd allow me. Thanks. Sponsored by GUFT. Infocom was an American publisher of interactive fiction games. When I was a wee guy, playing an Infocom game felt like being a grown-up. The games were designed for grown-ups, for people in offices or sitting by luxury desks at home. They established themselves with the Zork games, but the first Infocom game that I played was Leather Goddesses of Phobos. This was the first game I'd ever played that had a naughtiness setting. I would always set it to lewd. That's the most naughty. The game was funny, brilliantly written, and managed to avoid the sexism that you might expect from a 1980s computer game about sex goddesses. My love affair continued with games like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Suspect, and Ballyhoo. I should remind you that all of these games were pirate software, and so I didn't know that Infocom's boxed games were famous for their glorious packaging and physical gifts. In 1988, the year we are concerned with, I made first contact with the Infocom game The Lurking Horror. It had been released the year before, but it had taken these many months to make its way down the piracy pipeline to land in the households of West Coast Scotland. Designed by Dave Liebling, it is a horror tale inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft, and I spent many a night creeped out by its silent dread, its cursor waiting to pull me further into its dark web of words. Only words. And that was the amazing thing about Infocom. It was always only words. The power of words to create worlds. From space, to the circus, to a fantasy dungeon, to a new apartment in London. Infocom could take you anywhere. For patrons, there will be a special GUFT feature on Infocom in the new year. There you go, when you get that.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. We've only got a film left to talk about here.
Interactive fiction, my mate. Interactive fiction, you know what I mean? I just want to talk about, as well, 1988 was, of course, Die Hard. I feel like we gave it...
Was it Christmas Die Hard, in your mind? If they were smart, they should have.
This is a weird thing as well, right? This is something we need to be very careful about, because back in the 80s, films came out in different years depending on where
I
they
know.
were.
I find that quite often, that the most popular bits of film or TV, music as well, games, everything bleeds into the next year, because
exactly
things aren't as they are now.
Is there a possibility that Die Hard comes out in the festive season in America in 1988 and doesn't actually arrive here until 1989? Is that possible? Or did they move it earlier in the UK so we also got it in the festive season? I kind of want to know that. If you forgive me, I'm going to go to my data slate for a minute, because I want to know that information. People nowadays wouldn't believe that you had to wait months to see a film that came out. Let's see, Die Hard release UK, and I'll tell you when it was. 3rd of February 1989.
Right.
So there we go. GUFT, I would like to raise a right hand up to God. Right hand up to God and say that we have made an error in saying Die Hard on our previous episode was a 1988 movie, because actually, if we go by GUFT regulations, in the UK, it was released in 1989. Right hand up to God, Ryan.
Sorry, God.
Right hand up to God.
Sorry, GUFT.
What have you got for me?
I'm trying to decide what game to talk about next, but I can't make my mind up.
Well, why don't you offer it out to society, and we'll see what society thinks.
I'm just going to pick one.
We'll ask the studio audience. No, tell us, and we'll ask the studio audience.
I've only really got the Trump game left. Really, I think.
A game about Donald Trump.
Oh, it's a casino gambling game. It's not about Donald Trump.
A game about President Donald Trump.
It's not about the president.
Is it a game about our president?
It's not about our president.
Could we please put up some images of Donald Trump with Jesus or with angels? Because is this supposed to be quite Christmassy, this episode?
Yeah.
Can we have some images of Donald Trump with angels and with Jesuses, please?
Orange Jesus.
Now, as you know, this isn't a political show, but Donald Trump he's kicking a ball. He's not in the grun. He's the president of the United States of America, and we've got to go with it, you know what I mean? We will. The weird thing is that at some later episode of CVXX, way down the line, we're going to be reviewing, for example, the debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, which was one of the most entertaining things of the year.
Yeah.
I would say. So we'll be able to cover all this stuff. So we need to be careful what we say, because we're going to be reviewing this down the line. We'll review his presidency down the line. Oh! Sorry, Ryan. Carry on.
I'm looking at a list here, but it's lying to me.
Right, hey, Trump Casino. Come on, let's do it.
We'll have an economy based on wind. I never understood wind. I know windmills very much.
I never understood wind, yet I know windmills very much. Back in 1988, President Donald Trump was making this. The ultimate casino Trump, the ultimate gambling simulator, the Trump Castle, official Trump Castle simulation, casino simulation. What is the name of this game?
Tremendous, if you're into this, tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. We have a world, right?
I was fully aware of that. Look at that big bit of static on that bit of graphics there. I've gone awry, Donald. Taking your eye off the ball here.
I'm like a perfectionist. I really built good stuff.
I've put money on red. I've won. I've actually won. Oh my God. I'm up. I'm actually up at Trump Castle. Donald's not going to like that.
Fumes are spewing into the air, right? Spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air. It's our air, their air, everything, right? And if you own a house within vision of some of these monsters, your house is worth 50% of the price.
Who could have even predicted that not only would Donald Trump become the president of the United States of America, but he would also believe in monsters?
They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? In California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years.
I'm thinking about it a bit more now, and Donald Trump has been exposed to a lot of information, hasn't he? He's maybe not retained an awful lot of it, but he's been exposed to an awful lot of it, so does he actually know more about monsters than we realise?
So the world is tiny compared to the universe. I've seen the most beautiful fields, farms, most gorgeous things you've ever seen. So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. You talk about the carbon footprint.
So there you go, that was the Trump casino. Would you have thought playing a Trump game back in the day, would you have ever dreamed that man would be the president of the United States?
Quite honestly, yes. Yes, quite honestly, yes.
Okay, can I have this camera? Can I just say something? Submerged under the water.
Is that all you want to say?
No. Submerged under the water. There are crafts, NHI controlled crafts that are capable of leaving their submerged status, flying into the air, intercepting global military aircrafts. They're capable of spying on military installations and nuclear facilities. They are capable of causing time to dilate in some form where time perception is altered. And then they will return, moving at a speed of something like 10,000 knots, which is impossible for a human being to withstand, just to be clear. And then going back, submerging again into the water, going deep into the oceans of the earth.
Have you got much longer to go?
That is what David Icke and his people would say at this moment. And I just want to tell you, and GUFT particularly wants to tell you, you can stick all that shit in a crack pipe and smoke it, because that stuff is just trash. That is not bad, as Michael Jackson would say. That ain't bad. Okay? You think you're down? You ain't down, that ain't bad. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to get that out.
Well said. Well said. No, you did well there.
Thanks. Okay, so we've got another film to talk about.
We've got a film left.
We've got another film to talk about, and
I'd read more headlines out, but they're all a fucking downer.
Oh, there's a bit of downer.
Everything that's ever happened in the past is a downer, it seems.
Lockerbie happened in 1988. We're not going to talk about Lockerbie.
No.
Because that's just completely depressing. Completely depressing. So we're not going to talk about anything.
There's nothing fun. Is there anything funny about Lockerbie?
There's nothing funny about Lockerbie. I've tried. I tried to write a pantomime about Lockerbie. I tried to stage a pantomime at the Pavilion Theatre with Alexis Smith and John Barrowman in it, and all I could think about was John Barrowman's willy getting blown off. That was the only joke I had. Because he pulled his willy out and he put it on Alexis Smith's shoulder, and then I was going to have Gaddafi blown it off by Kalashnikov, but it just...
Is he going to do that every night?
So... blowing John Barrowman aside, let's talk about a film. And the film we're going to talk about is a big release for 1988, and that's a wee joke in itself, what I just said there, because the film is called Big
Release.
The director who directed it was called by the name of Penny Marshall.
Was she also directed The Awakenings?
She did direct Awakenings, which is one of Ryan's favourite movies.
That's a very good film.
Big. Does that mean we can't cover it in CVXX now that we've both exposed ourselves as Awakenings nuts? Awakenings stands.
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
So Penny Marshall, for anybody who doesn't know, Penny Marshall was one of Laverne and Shirley. Doing it our way. You don't know what Laverne and Shirley is?
I know what it is, but I don't know the...
Laverne and Shirley used to be on... It was a sitcom, an American sitcom, but they would show it early in the morning before we would go to school. So that was another kind of 80s thing for us, was seeing Laverne and Shirley on in the morning before school. It's true. Let's put up a wee bit of Laverne and Shirley. Can we see them? They were just kind of, funny woman. Funny woman at their work now and living a life in America, and I would watch it before school, and that would get me set for the day ahead. Get me set for guys like that. My dad's in jail, man. He was dealing jellies, man. He get put in the fucking jail, and I'd be like, doing it our way.
Coming up to you in the dinner queue and like wiping a snort.
Wiping a snort. Do you wipe a snort on my back? That's
doing
just like what happens in Laverne and Shirley. So Big by Penny Marshall.
So had you seen this before?
Have I seen Big before?
You seen the film Big with Tom Hanks?
You on
in it
crack? Of course I've seen it before.
before? Okay.
What struck me about Big, can we put up Big's poster? Thank you. Big is a very interesting poster because there's nothing in the poster for Big about what the film Big is about. On Big's poster it says, have you ever had a really big secret? It says. And then it just says, a wonderful new comedy. There is no clue what this film is about, and I think that's quite interesting.
Should the poster tell you what the film's about?
Well, I think so. I mean, the poster for The Thing kind of lets you know that there's a thing, right?
That's true.
The poster for There's an Alien.
The Ridley Scott film. There's an alien.
Genuine mistake. Genuinely just called Alien. There's an alien
In space,
The poster
you scream, there's an alien.
Where did that come from? The poster for There's an Alien said in space, no one. It's so much less scary in it, a film called There's an Alien. Oh, Jesus.
Right, spoiler as well. It's a big spoiler.
There's an alien. Oh, hey, but how good was There's an Aliens? Right. So, Big Penny Marshall. On you go, right. So, no, sorry, you want to explain what it's about?
Tom Hanks is, how old is he again? 12? 13? 14. 14.
14.
Tom Hanks is a 14-year-old boy.
Josh Baskin.
And there's a loose wee bit of plot at the start where Josh fancies a lassie in his high school. They're hanging out at the fairgrounds and Josh can't go into a ride because he's not tall enough. And that embarrasses him in front of this lassie that he's interested in. So he comes across a Zoltar machine. Zoltar Speaks, which is a Make-A-Wish type of thing that you put some money into and it does a spell and then it gives you a bit of paper telling you that your wish has been granted. So Josh does that at the fairground right after that embarrassment with a lassie that he fancies. And then what he wishes for, what he wishes for is that he wants to be big. So then,
I mean, they could have put that in the poster. They could have put it on the poster that a boy wishes that he wants to be big.
So the next morning, Josh Baskin wakes up as Tom Hanks, and he's fully sized. Well, I mean, Tom Hanks,
30 years old,
aged 30. Tom Hanks, fully grown, fully cooked. So the film is about him wanting to become a wee boy again because
he's navigating adult life as a wee boy.
While he's waiting, they're trying to track down where the Zoltar Speaks machine is so they can turn back into a wee boy again. But while he's doing that, he has to navigate being an adult in adult life. So he has to get a job and somewhere to stay, and he gets a girlfriend and stuff like that. And all these adult things happen to him. But he's only 14, so it's happening to a 14-year-old.
No, it starts with a computer game. Big, the very first thing you see.
Real one?
No, I don't think it's a real one. But the very first thing you see is a computer game, which is nice. I think, it brings us into our wheelhouse. But he's playing a computer game. He's big on the old computers. Tell you something. See that computer that he had, CRT screen and all that, and old computer. Better fortune for that nowadays, man. I would love that computer. Yeah, do you look at old computers like that with old screens and stuff and kind of wish you had one?
Definitely. I was thinking about the first finance deal that I ever took was to get that widescreen TV that I had in my tiny bedroom. Do you remember it? And it was absolutely enormous. Like, it was literally, the TV was literally deeper. Yeah. Like, the back of it was deeper than the screen was wide. But the screen on the TV was beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Have you ever considered, I've considered recently buying an old PC off eBay, like an old retro PC, like a Windows 98, Windows 95 old PC with a monitor and stuff. And then I just think to myself, Jen would be like, what the fuck is happening here? You know what I mean? What is going on? Why are you...
You're going back to your room is what's happening here.
Well, here's the thing, like, do you ever want to go back to your room?
All right.
You ever want to go back to your room? Because I've been writing a thing recently that's kind of about that, and I think there's a thing in guys. I think that's what this whole man cave bullshit is about.
I think when going back to the previous episode when we were talking about Hitman and Her, Pete Waterman nowadays, current day, is talking about mental health and stuff like that, and man sheds and stuff like that, which is a funny term. But no, I think that mental health wise, that's definitely a thing within men anyway, where you want to go back to that place. You want to go back to your room. I want to get back to my room.
I remember being really happy and things being really uncomplicated in my room.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Safe place. Safe place.
I would love to, can I just put it to the audience of CVXX? Tell us about your room. Like, see if you want to get in touch with us. I don't care how you do it, whether it's by messaging or like whatever, or sending us photos or whatever, but tell us about your room, because I think there's something really, a lot of things get spoken about what makes a person what they are, but I think their childhood bedroom is a huge part of that. I mean, I can see it. Like, I can really see it. I can see yours, man, because I was in your bedroom so many times. Like,
just hanging out. See it as well.
Just hanging out and playing games and that, to be clear.
We filmed Consolvania on it, so you can see it
exactly.
as well.
But even things like, I'll see the fucking the bullet train, the Japanese bullet train, and I think of the poster in your room, and you know,
that's right. Anyway, big star.
Sorry.
Tom
anyway,
Hanks.
big. This is what movies should do to you.
It's potent stuff. So he's woken up and he's Tom Hanks. He's fully sized, so he has to get out of the house. Well,
see, before you go there, by the way, I just want to say the wee boy who plays his pal, Jared Rushton, his name is absolutely superb in this film. He's like the dream pal that you could have had in that day.
Remember the wee guy in Over the Top?
Yeah.
Imagine him in Big and what damage that would have done to this film.
I mean, come on, poor guy. But I know, but Jared Rushton is just special in this. There's also like the walkie-talkies, like communicating with your mate over walkie-talkies. Like your own wee world and your own private line to each other. Always remember this is like when you used to have to get permission to use the phone back then, you know what I mean? Just the bedrooms were so close to each other that they could use walkie. It's just fucking beautiful, right? Big right for the very early gone in Big, I could feel my heart getting kind of pulled in directions.
It starts really, really strongly, this film.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Big I must have had it on VHS because I've seen it loads and loads of times. But it starts, I'd say I'd give it maybe a good 15-20 minute. The first 15-20 minutes of the film, you're like, oh, this feels like almost like a classic kind of 80s movie. This is like really well constructed. Like, it feels like one of the best examples of the 80s film. I don't think it sustains, but starts really strongly.
It avoids. Let me talk about the Goonies for a minute, right? I think the Goonies is a horrible picture, right? I really hate it. And I never liked it when I was a wee boy. And I particularly don't like, I watched it again recently and I was like, oh, this is horrible, this film. And I think it's because the wee guys are kind of horrible in it. Like, the kids are kind of horrible in it, you know? And this film is very careful to be like, these are sweet wee boys, these wee boys. Do you know what I mean? And the truth is, there was a lot of wee boys back in the day who were sweary and horrible and all of that, right? But there was a lot of wee boys that were just sweet wee boys as well, you know what I mean? This film decides to be about the wee boys. Even when his pal's talking about being able to see down the teacher's shirt, he says, you know, she's not got a bra on, she's wearing one of these slip things. And he says, you can see all the way down to her flowers, he says, which is just so, it's, you know what I mean? It's like you're immediately rooting for these wee guys because they're just innocent, lovely wee guys. And I kind of feel like you just don't...
14-year-olds now have been on fucking Pornhub and X videos and so on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just...
By that time. 18 minutes is when he gets the bus into New York, and I've written this film is magic. So we're at least 18 minutes of magic and Big.
I'm not even there yet, because there's also a moment where they're trading baseball cards and they're going, need, go. And that was a big nostalgia thing as well, because I was thinking about just swapping their Panini football stickers in the playground, taking in big stacks of Panini. I wasn't even into football, really.
No, me neither.
But you would collect... I mean, why did I want a fucking Willie Miller sticker? Or an Eamon Bannon sticker? Do you know what I mean? Like, a wee guy wanting a sticker of some guy.
How shiny was that Sheffield Wednesday crest?
I know, like, you know, I've got a West Ham, shiny West Ham badge, you know? and going through and need, goat, need. Getting, like, for a shiny one, you'd get maybe, they'd give you 3 for that or whatever. Man, it was fucking good times, wasn't it? And you would get the junk ones that everybody had, so you would just kind of stick them on each other's back and on it. Oh, man.
So that's before they're on the bus, they're swapping baseball cards.
Yes, that's when they're still kids. That's when they're like kids. Because he wants to be, it's sweet, he wants to be big and he wants to be strong. And it does a lot of, it's beautifully directed, I think, this film. I really do think it's beautifully directed. Like, just wee incidental things, like, you know, you're seeing big guys hitting the, you know, the thing where you hammer the thing and it goes up. The strength, test your strength thing, Jesus Christ. The test your strength thing, ding, that rings a bell at the top. And it surrounds this wee boy in the kind of allure of adult life. And when he goes to the Zoltar Speaks machine and he makes the wish, there's this really, it's a really haunting shot where there's kids playing in the background and they kind of all chuckle and laugh and run away into the darkness. It's fucking like serious shit, man.
Aye, it starts really strongly. I think it's very well constructed at the start of the film. There's a Zoltar Speaks machine in Glasgow Airport. Did you know that?
Well, this is the thing. This is an interesting thing because I think it was late. I think it was invented. It was invented for big, and then it was later licensed and used.
There's a really dodgy website of the company, the British company that licenses it. The Zoltar Speaks.
Oh, really?
I'll stick some footage of their
Please
videos.
get that up, yeah.
The footage they've got on their website.
No, it's been a long time since I saw Big, right? So this is, again, I'm just kind of catching up to before you go to New York, because I'm going to be honest here, I've written a ridiculous amount of notes.
Okay.
No, I kind of misremembered Big, right? Because he wakes up and he sees his cell and he goes and he looks at his cell in the mirror. And also, Tom Hanks is immediately one of the best actors you've ever seen.
There's a reason why he's as famous as he is, because for a time he was just like everything he touched. He was amazing.
He looks in that mirror at himself as an adult and he does not perform that the way I think 99% of actors would perform that scene. It's so understated.
I've just imagined Big starring James Woods.
Well, listen, you know who was cast before Tom Hanks? Do you not know this?
No.
And I don't mean...
I would guess like Michael J. Fox, but no. No.
We've already kind of mentioned them in relation to Penny Marshall. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was cast. He was signed and cast.
What?
Yeah.
That would have been weird.
It just wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have worked.
That's too old.
Because you need...
They must have realised.
You need an incredible... I'm not saying Robert De Niro doesn't have charm. He has a different kind of charm, a different kind of charisma. You need a massive amount of charm to pull off this role.
Also, he's 30, Tom Hanks, but he's still youthful.
Yeah, he could easily be younger than 30. But he sees himself in that mirror. But then I remember thinking to myself, God, this would be a completely different film. This is me when I was watching it. This would be a completely different film if he'd have just went downstairs and told his ma that he'd turned into it. And then he does. I'd forgot that he actually does that. He goes downstairs and confronts his ma and says, look, it's me. And I'd completely forgotten that.
No, he runs at the house first, doesn't he?
Well, first of all, he tries to go to the Zoltar machine.
He goes to try and find the Zoltar machine, then I think he goes to his pal. Is that right?
No, he goes to his pal after he goes to his ma.
Right, but he definitely goes, he sneaks out first and then he comes back in the house to talk to his ma, but his ma freaks out because she doesn't know who he is.
And that raised some interesting thoughts in my mind, because I thought to myself, if any of my kids suddenly became 30 and came in to see me and said, I've turned into an adult, I think I'd recognise them. I think I'd know them.
There would be a familiarity, you would imagine.
I mean, it really got me thinking about that. I was trying to think. You'd maybe go like that at first. Oh, what the fuck are you? Oh, what are you talking about? What you did? And then you kind of go, oh no, hold on, it is you. And then you'd probably also go, oh, what the fuck is going on? But I think you'd recognise them.
Mm-hmm. It's probably different for a ma who's got a guy that she doesn't know standing there.
Here's an interesting thing we should do, right? Let's put up, we can't do it now live, but let's put up a picture of ourselves when we were 11, around about that age, or around about 14 or whatever, right? If we can find the pictures when we were young. And then put up a picture of us when we were like 30, right? And then people can, watching this, can get an idea of if that grown man had came into our ma's house and their young boy was missing, would they believe that person was...
They would. Now that you put it like that, I know that they would recognise you. They definitely would.
They would recognise you,
Aye,
right?
Definitely.
I'm trying to think, and me, my mum would be like, what's it here? What's your hair? My son's no baldy. My mum would do.
But your dad.
And I'd be like, but my dad's baldy. My dad would like, just look at me like that. Well, I told you, son.
Well, that would have been a much shorter film if he could have reasoned with my...
True. Well, what the Mo assumes is that this is a guy that's abducted Josh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she chases him out the house. So there is another film happening behind Big, which is a much darker film, which is about a woman, a mother and father. A father disappears, didn't he? The father's in an early scene and then vanishes after the scene. But a mother and father who believe that their son has been abducted by this fucking strange guy. Mm-hmm. That's happening behind the scenes while this film is playing out.
So his ma freaks out. He does manage to convince his pal that he is who he says he is because he remembered a rhyme that they sing together.
Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bob, shimmy, shimmy, that stuff, which, you know, we heard recently in a Lana Del Rey song on a recent album. It's a beautiful moment, that, I think, because it acknowledges that there's a language between kids as friends that is theirs and nobody else's, you know, like a secret code. I think it's a beautiful bit, that. And how they perform that scene of the two of them softening each other. And I think it's the performances are fucking unbelievable in this film.
Yeah, good fun. Good fun. So he goes to New York to hide it while they're looking for the Zoltar machine, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he checks into a hotel room and he does another wee bit of spot on acting, Tom Hanks, when his pal leaves him alone in his hotel room. And he's obviously scared and shook
and it's
up.
Genuinely scary, that scene. Like, if the scene is scary, it's like you're hearing people shout. And this is the weird thing, like, and this happens to me a lot watching this film, where I think to myself, so I'm perceiving this as a frightening. I found the scene quite frightening. You get people shouting out in the hall, and he's kind of putting something ahead of his door, and then there's people screaming outside, and there's a gunshot and all that. And I'm like, yeah, that would be terrifying for a kid in a man's body to experience that. But that situation is terrifying just in its own right.
But then fast forward like 10, 15 minutes in the film, and he's been there for a few days and he doesn't give a shit anymore.
And he's used to it.
He's sitting in his hotel room watching something that's got gunshots on it, and there's gunshots happening out in the street while he's watching the telly.
He's desensitised.
He's just nonchalant about it.
As quick as that, he's desensitised. I just want to say as well, when he goes to New York at first, he dresses like a kid's kind of imagining of what an adult man would dress like.
Aye.
But weirdly, he actually kind of dresses like how everybody in the 90s dressed. It's almost like a weird premonition of how people were going to dress 5 years down the line. I just thought it was interesting. It actually looks pretty cool. Now, they go to a shop trying to find a Zoltar machine, didn't they? An arcade shop. Did you manage to see what machines were in there? I noticed Spy Hunter was in there.
I didn't have a look.
There was a couple of Taito things in there as well. If anybody knows, here's a good bit of trivia to try and find. There's going to be somebody out there I know who's going to be able to look at this scene in Big and look at some side art on a machine and know what machine that is. So we'd love to know what that is. And it's interesting that his wee pal's not interested in computers, is he? Because his wee pal says to him at one point, Josh, will you quit with your stupid computers?
Did he? I don't know.
So it's almost like there's a wee kind of transition moment. Russ is a wee guy that's still into like walkie-talkies and toys and all that kind of stuff. Josh is the kind of computer one. And I think that's really clever writing as well, because Josh is the one who's wanting to kind of jump ahead. You know what I mean? Computers are what's coming down the line. He wants to be big. He wants to be an adult. He wants to be hanging me. He's like, you know, he's ready to step out of the present moment. I think it's beautifully fucking done. And whenever his pal gets described as his son, when waiters and stuff like that describe him as his son, and they find it so funny, I think it's great. No. He sees a bra at one point, doesn't he?
Are you talking about much later in the film? Are you talking about the boob grab? The famous boob grab?
No, the boob grab. I'm talking about when he first... So he gets a job working on computers, data entry basically in his toy company. For a toy company. But it's when he first meets Elizabeth Perkins' character. And she kind of, it's not when he first meets her, but the second time they kind of encounter each other in the corridors, and her dress is open a wee bit, and he can see a wee glimpse of bra, and he's staring at it.
He also looks at an arse at some point as well.
He does also look at an arse as well. Complete innocence, by the way. Are you still there? Your TV will automatically shut down in 407.
405.
405. We're back! Guys, we're back.
Fuck me.
Sorry, that was GUFT would have been
Jesus Christ.
really upset about that if that TV had turned off, because it's important that you see this symbol.
It's a V.
Remember, it's a V.
Right, let's speed this up. So he's got a job in a toy company. He's seen a boob. He's seen a bum. He gets promoted.
Before we speed it up, though, it's nice to see a bra, right?
Here we go.
No, here we go. Like, I feel like over the past, and I think President Trump would agree with me, I feel like over the past 10 years or so, 10, 15 years, we're all kind of pretending, guys are pretending there isn't, and you know, a big moment when you see a bra, or when you see even a bit of a bra, a fraction of a bra. And here's the thing with Big is, there's so much innocence that runs through Big. It's true that it's nice to see a bra.
Right.
It's true. No, it's true. You can sit there, are you pretending it's no?
No, I like to see a bra. No, you're right. You're right.
And it doesn't matter whether you're 14 or 30. Doesn't matter if you're Hanks or De Niro. Or the Scottish Hanks and De Niro.
It means a lot.
Ryan and Rab.
14-year-old, I think, to see a bra.
It's better for it. It's more exciting for a 14.
That'll change the trajectory of your week, I think, if you see a bra when you're 14.
I don't think it ever loses its lustre.
You think?
I don't think it ever loses its lustre.
Tom Hanks gets paid $187.
I've got written here, $187, exclamation mark.
That's for a whole week of work. He gets paid $187.
And he says, $187!
He's delighted.
It's so fucking funny. And they're living like kings on that paycheck, by the way.
Eating Oreo cookies.
Eating all the shite of the day, playing with silly string and all of that, spending money on all the right things. There's a famous scene in Big, Ryan, where they're on the piano.
Aye. Wait, what's his name again? That guy out of
Robert
Scarface.
Loggia.
That guy.
Who's great in this as well. He's the kind of boss of the toy company, and he likes Josh Baskin because Josh Baskin has an innocence about him.
He has a childlike quality somehow about him, doesn't he?
I don't know why he's got a childlike quality, but he's got a childlike quality about him. And he's like, this guy's wasted in the computer department. But that piano scene, Robert Loggia does fucking well there. I don't know if I could do that.
I know, it's good.
But he was probably only like 25 in that, though. It's like, you're probably not even as old as we think he is.
Who?
Robert Loggia in that film. I mean, he was a 50 odds.
Mid-50s,
50 odds. But I don't know if I could do that. It was too athletic looking for me. There's some really accurate, this has struck me, some really kind of accurate opinions about toys, I think, in this film.
From Josh?
Yeah.
Mainly, aye.
That robot that turns into a building is crap. You know? Almost every opinion he actually expresses about toys is right, which kind of really made me think they've really put work into this script. There's work being put into this script, because you have to believe he's a kid. You know what I mean? You have to believe he's a kid, and all these opinions have to be spot on. And I kind of feel like they are. And of course, Elizabeth Perkins' character, she immediately likes him because he's different. He's not like the rest of these kind of capitalists.
A lot of them are arseholes that work in the company.
They're arseholes. They're capitalist driven. You know, they give you that 80s cokehead vibe, right? Mm-hmm. Big business. He's different. He's wide-eyed. And she's doing... So he eventually gets together with her, right? There's the scene at the party.
Aye, he's got his white tux on, his white sparkly tux.
He's got his ridiculous clothes on. He is eating the wee food bits and stuff and doing all the physical comedy. Brilliant stuff, right? Brilliant physical comedy. But he goes home with Elizabeth Perkins, right? He takes Elizabeth Perkins back. First of all, they get in the limo and they drive, and he's playing with all the stuff and popping his head out the top of the limo. And I think this scene with the two of them, Ryan, is really amazing stuff. Because she is pretending to be an adult. What I mean by that is she's got this kind of performative adult discourse that she indulges in, the way she's talking and the way she's communicating, and she's hitting out with all the buzzwords. She's kind of saying all the right things, and Josh Baskin is completely in the moment, playing with shit, asking the driver if he wants some fries, and just like he's there in the room, and she's like saying all the stuff that she feels she should say in this moment with another adult when something might be developing. And I think it's like there's so much more going on in this film than just, it's something I hadn't noticed previously watching Big, just how much is going on with her character in this film, where all her kind of adult pretensions all start to break down. All the stuff about like, you know, I saying I don't know if I should stay the night, and he's like, oh, well, sleepover? Well, aye, all right. And that beautiful innocent thing, and she's still in there. Do you want to have, you know, should we have a glass of wine? He's getting her on the trampoline, and let's talk about his flat, Ryan.
Not as many arcade machines as I would have hoped, but
no, true. I kind of feel like when I moved in with Jen, that must have been what it was like for her when I started moving all my toys and games and crap. It must have been that kind of moment, seeing all that stuff. But getting her on that trampoline, and again her performance. Is that
no awful? I always thought this about that scene, seeing them bouncing up and down that trampoline. It's not awful close to that window.
It's really close to
the window.
I would never let my wains on that trampoline. This is the thing. It's like a really beautiful scene. He's got a trampoline in his flat, and he gets her up on it, and he's getting her to jump on it, and she's kind of like, well, this is a bit weird. And then she's kind of jumping, she's like, can we not have a glass of wine and thing, you know? But then when she actually starts to jump and bounce and enjoy it, she's completely fucking liberated. And there's even wee moments. This is what's kind of struck me about this film. There's so many kind of wee moments I've not really noticed before. Like, first of all, she's kind of holding down her skirt as she's bouncing. Because again, that's, as an adult, that's of course what you do. An adult woman, she's bouncing on a trampoline, you hold down your skirt because you don't, you know, you're in a fucking world full of monsters. You don't, you know, you protect yourself. But in that moment, innocent, with this innocent guy, this kind, innocent guy, you don't need to worry about any of that. It's all gone. All that stuff is gone, and she's just bouncing, just completely free. I fucking love this scene, man. It reminded me, Ryan, of you chokeslammed a lassie, Ryan.
Did I? When was that?
You did wrestling moves to a lassie.
When was this?
You don't remember this?
When are you talking about? 30 years ago?
Yeah, like a long time ago, aye.
I don't remember.
You don't have any recollection of any wrestling moves?
No.
Well, are you serious? Are you doing a bit, or are you serious?
No. What's the scene?
You don't remember any lassie coming back to your room?
Oh, wait a minute. I broke a bed, didn't I?
And you doing a wrestling move till the bed broke?
Aye,
how would you no fucking remember that?
No remember.
Does that no? I'm going to ask a studio audience. Does that no strike anybody as weird?
It was like 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago.
But you would remember doing something. But
I do remember now.
But you did it in a Josh Baskin-esque.
Aye.
That was a Josh Baskin-esque moment there of you were a young guy, you liked the wrestling, you were carrying on.
Chokeslammed the lassie.
Chokeslammed the lassie on her bed and broke a bed. And it reminded me of that because it was, you would describe it to something that would sound odd, but it was a completely innocent moment.
We need to fire through here, and I don't want to get caught up on this, but last episode I took issue with a high five, and I'm going to say again that at 1 hour and 14 minutes, Tom, I think it's after he's had sex, is in a really good mood, and he's saying hello to everybody, and he high fives a black guy in the hall, and I had the same reaction again where I was like, oh, fucking... don't be ridiculous. One, there's no black people in this film, so high-fiving a black guy in a corridor is just like, what are you trying? What are you playing at here?
That is a very white movie, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
It is a very white movie, you can say that about it. I want to come back, though, to how beautiful it is. If we can get off of how racist it is.
Me being me, as I say, I thought the film started well, but I don't think it's sustained. I was picking up on things like there's an awful lot of fades in this film, like an awful lot of fade to blacks or fade to the next scenes, and I just didn't think it was as strong a finish as it was a start.
I mean,
but I still think it's great. Still really enjoy it.
I don't agree. I mean, you're watching one of the best actors that ever lived, kind of pulling off an incredible kind of high wire act, because it can easily. I mean, there's another film that we'll definitely cover down the line in the 1990s called Clifford, which which is not really in a similar area.
Did you know that it was originally Robert De Niro that was casting Cliff?
I fucking wish. I wish. But wee moments like when she asks him, what were you like when you were younger? And he goes, I wasn't much different. And it strikes me now about Big, and this is something you could just never acknowledge when you were, like when I first saw Big, I will have been a kid, you know? I was a kid when I first saw Big. You can't possibly perceive what this film is actually about, which is that in these adult bodies, we are the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're the same as that wee guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing significant has actually happened. He's woke up one day and he's in an adult body, but actually life is just that 7 hours that he spent asleep in that bed. There's nothing significant. It's just, I still feel exactly like that 14-year-old boy that I was back then. I don't think there's anything different. I still enjoy seeing a bra. I still get intimidated by stuff. I still feel frightened when I'm in a threatening situation. There is nothing. The main thing this does is shine a light on the fact that being a Wayne is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's why his choice at the end. So obviously a choice at the end where he decides he wants to go home and he wants to go back to being a kid. I remember when I was a kid, I was going, why would you do that? I remember. I was thinking, why would you do that? I would argue actually that if Robert Zemeckis had made this film, right? If your Back to the Future team had made this film, he would have stayed as an adult with his money.
It was good that, well, he went back because he'd never done it before. He went back because he'd never had his whole childhood and the transition to adulthood. But I think he posed the question to her, would she do it?
Yeah.
But she, having done it already, said that she wouldn't go through it again.
Yeah.
So I think it's just because they hadn't.
But I also wonder if there's I also wonder as when you think of this as a film who a woman's written it, co-written it, and you think it's a woman that directed it. Women have different childhoods and different teenage years than boys have, you know, and I think there's an element of that in what she said there as well. And I don't believe that he goes back because he wants to experience that, because he says I want to go home, I miss my family and I want to go home. It's just that, I think it's just that. And I think it's, you know, it's about that place, it's about your room and the people, you know, and you want to go home to your ma, you know, which obviously I can't do anymore. So it's very sad.
He wants the safety still, didn't he? For as long as it will last. But no, I liked the film an awful lot. Again, I just thought things like quite a lot of fades at the end. When he's walking around his old childhood area, that went on for quite a long time as well. But these are niggles, they're wee niggles. Performances are brilliant.
I just think the vibes are immaculate. I think
Immaculate
all these
vibes. Put that in the box. Immaculate vibes.
Yeah, I think all these wee moments. I'm 13 years old. Who isn't? All that kind of stuff. Watching it as an adult, I think it's an incredibly moving film about how, you know, how we just are they fucking Waynes. I mean, we really are just they Waynes, except we've got bigger bodies and aches and pains and all of that. I love the fact that she accepts it. His decision. She completely accepts his decision. And she completely accepts as well when he says, I'm a 13-year-old, she accepts that as well, you know what I mean? And it is kind of like when you meet the person that you love and who loves you, you can say, I'm a 13-year-old to them. I can't cope. You can say, I can't cope. That's what I kind of perceive that to be. You can go, this adult stuff, I'm fucking shit at it and I can't do it. And the person that loves you accepts that. Just all these wee bits. They don't have a kiss at the end. She kisses him on the head because he's a child again. I loved I loved on the street that it was printed school, slow. Like,
I wasn't sure what the plan was when he was getting dropped off at the house. Because what happens is he gets dropped off and he walks towards the house and he gets weird and turns into a wee guy as he's walking towards the house. But if that hadn't happened, you've got exactly the same situation as earlier in the film.
Not true, but there was...
Because she acts surprised. She acts like, oh, he's turned into a wee guy. So was the plan just that she was going to drop Tom Hanks off and then drive away? That's what it looked like the plan was.
Well, you know,
it's not important.
The whole film is just about... You know, it's all symbolism and it's all You know, and I just thought it was amazing. And I think it's really sad, man, really sad film. Do you know there was Anne Spielberg, who's Steven Spielberg's sister, who was one of the co-writers on it?
No, I did not.
I didn't know that either, actually, until no, Big has a really annoying online discourse about it nowadays, where people are like, you know, actually, it's a bit creepy and weird, Big, because it's a 13-year-old boy having sex with an adult woman. You know, and I can imagine if it was the main character was a lassie, you know, and it was a 13-year-old lassie having sex, how different that would be, you know. And I just think, how can you watch that film? How beautiful that film is, and how you can only perceive it as anything weird and creepy if you don't understand about what it's actually about. You know what I mean? And I think that the discourse about that film is just a fucking sad indictment of the way discourse is about art nowadays. And that's never what you're going to get on CVXX, sponsored by GUFT
Industries.
I found it really sad. I was struggling at parts of Big this time round. Also, Tom Hanks is an old man now.
I know, it's amazing to think. He looks so youthful in it. Can I just, before we go, read out the film list that we didn't cover? Just to have a look at how many amazing films. Good Morning Vietnam, Akira, Mississippi Burning, Short Circuit 2, I don't know why I've written that down, The Vanishing, Hairspray, Waxworks, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, Bloodsport, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Rain Man, Beaches, My Neighbour Totoro, Grave of the Fireflies, Poltergeist 3, Top Radio.
Grave of the Fireflies is a good laugh, isn't it?
Oh, it's brutal. Apparently they show it in classroons in Japan. Grave of the Fireflies. Cinema Paradiso, They Live, Miracle Mile, Dead Ringers, Dangerous Liaisons, Homeboy,
Jesus.
Brain Damage. Many brilliant films.
Many brilliant films. Quite frankly, the truth is we can't cover everything we want to cover on this bloody show. I mean, we've run out of time. We can't even do the deaths, and it's one of my favourite bits.
We've got no deaths for 1988.
So let's just say nobody dies in 1988.
In 1988,
nobody died.
No one
Everybody
dies.
lives, as Chris Eccleston said in Doctor Who. This time, everybody lives. Thanks for watching CVXX, listening to CVXX. Give us your reviews, link and describe us.
click on the links to describe.
Link and describe us, and we'll see you next time when we blast full force straight up the arse of 1989.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, by the way. Whatever year.